Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Welcome to the second installment of ways to use window envelopes in your junk journals. And in case this is your first time stopping by, I am on a mission to use up a huge box of window envelopes that I was gifted from my dad recently. And so I will be using the same style of envelope over and over again in this series and using it in different ways and to be able to put into our junk journals. And my hope is to post one video a week until I run out of ideas or I get tired of doing this series. And I just want to let you guys know that these videos are complete tutorials so that you guys can play along with me if you want. I will speed up certain areas just to try to keep it under a certain time length. But if you guys want, I also at the beginning of the videos, I will do my best to just show you the basics of how to construct whatever I'm working on and the idea. So if you don't want to watch me decorate, you guys definitely don't have to. And for today's video, we are going to be creating a double envelope flip with pockets, is what I'm calling it. And I'm not sure if anybody else has done this before or not. I haven't seen it. I kind of did a quick search when I was working on it and creating this video, and I haven't seen a video similar to it, but that doesn't mean that there isn't somebody else out there that's already created it. So here are the couple that I created, and you can either make these to flip open to the right or to the left. And again, it requires 2 window envelopes, and these are the window envelopes that we'll be using in this video series. So this one opens up to the right, and you can see it has a 2 window envelope flip, and then I also added this piece here for an extra journaling spot. Each of these do have a pocket. There's a pocket here on the side of this particular one, and you can see I did a little collaging on that one. And there's also a pocket on this next one when it flips up. So a top loading pocket, so you can do it either way. If you like the side loading pockets or the top loading pockets, you can also add other elements to it. Like here I have a tuck spot that I added. And then again, like I said, I added another piece on the back of this one. And then I also had a belly band, so you can add a belly band too to add different ephemera pieces. And I didn't decorate the back because my plan is, of course, to glue this down and use it glued down in a journal, but you could also make it into a floating pocket by adding a back piece to it. I also have this one where you can see this one, it was a little bit staggered. My envelopes, I staggered them. And this one, I left them all level. And so this one, but then in this one, I also did a flip to the left. So this one, again, has a pull-out journal card right here into the window envelope part. And this background one, I did do some collaging and then decorated it up. It opens up. Here I just left it pretty plain because I thought this was still light enough color to be able to journal on. And this one also here too has a pull-out pocket on the side, so I did both of these on the side. Whereas this first one I did a side and a top one. And then again, I left these relatively simple and blank. I didn't really do any decorating just because I figured again that they were light enough colored to be able to write on them with a black pen, so I just left them. And again, I didn't decorate the back because it's going to be glued down. And this is the actual one that I'm going to be doing in the tutorial. So I'm just going to grab a piece from here. So again, this one I did it flipped going to the right, and you can see the window element parts on this one. And this one I did do an extra little tuck spot here so I could tuck a tag here. This one does have a tag that pulls out, or a journaling card that pulls out on the side. And another library pocket I added here, and then also a tuck spot behind it. And then this one right here, I have a tiny little tag that pulls out. And this one is a top loading journal card or tag up at the top. And I'm just going to pull that out for now. And then again, I did another belly band here. And this one I just glued down some pieces of paper. And one of the pieces had some nice lines on it to be able to journal on. And again, I left this back side of that one blank. So if you are interested in seeing how I constructed this and then decorated it, stick around for the rest of the video. For the basic construction of this double envelope flip with pockets is you are going to need to start off with 2 envelopes. And again, I'm using window envelopes. And then I'm also going to be hooking some sort of cardstock underneath it. So the basic construction is to take your two envelopes, and they are going to just kind of hook into each other. You're going to glue them together. And they're going to hook onto that piece of cardstock. And so you will then have a double envelope flip with pockets, because each one of these will be a pocket. And of course you could add more pockets to different pieces in there. And then the next thing you also need to think about is, if you're just mass producing stuff for your box to be able to use later on, you do need to think about what size journals you normally make, and you want to cut your elements to fit inside your journals. And usually my journals are, my pages for the length are usually 8 inches or less. So as long as I'm under 8 inches, I'm pretty good. And then also you need to think about, as far as which way you want this to flip in your journal, if you want it to go to the right or to the left. And initially when you're putting it together, if your paper doesn't have a direction on it, what your decorative paper, it doesn't really matter. You can decorate it later. But I think for my purposes today, I'm just going to go to the right with mine. And then the other thing to slightly think about also is where you want your pockets. You can do a side pocket or a top pocket, and I'll do one of each with you guys. And then you can also decide if you want your envelopes kind of parallel to each other, or if you want them staggered. And I kind of like the staggered look. And in the beginning I did show you guys a couple different examples. So I'm going to do this one as a side pocket and this one as a top pocket behind there. So then, like I said, the first step is to cut this down to whatever size you want. And I'm going to cut mine into 6.5 inches long and leave the flap on. So don't cut that off. You just want to cut it along with the rest of it to the right size. So again, I'm going to cut this one down to 6.5 inches, but you can cut whatever works for you, and part of your decision making will probably be also dependent upon what style of window you have showing in your envelope. And I'm going to cut both pieces exactly the same size. You wouldn't have to if you don't want to, but I'm going to for the purposes of this video. And these little offcuts here, what I would recommend doing with these is you just glue down this envelope flap part right there. And if you open it up, then you have another little pocket that you can glue onto a page and decorate. So don't throw these away. You can reuse these for something else. So again, here's my two envelopes. And they are going, like I said, I'm going to flip them this way. And this one, I do want the pocket to go this way, because this is going to flip onto that other piece of cardstock. So I'm going to cut off just a little strip right here so I have something to slide my journal card or tag into. And just a tiny little strip off of the end is all I'm cutting off. You could, depending upon again the size of the window that you have, you could cut more or less off on that one if you wanted to. And then on this one that's going to go behind, I want to have an opening up at the top for a tag or a journal card. So I'm just going to cut off just a little strip off of the top of that one. And just to make it easier for you guys when you're watching me, I'm just going to put number 1 on this one and number 2 on this one, just so you can see until we have it decorated. So again, the basic construction then of this flip would be, I would go like this, and I would probably notch, you can notch it if you want here and then up here for the journal card or the tag, and you'd glue these two together, and then you'd go ahead and you glue it onto your other piece or cardstock, and then you would glue it down into your journal page. I'd probably cut this piece of paper short, this cardstock shorter. But that's kind of the basic construction of it. If for those of you that just wanted to know how to put it together and you don't need any ideas on decorating. But I'm going to go ahead and decorate it for those that want to see how to decorate it, and then I'll glue it after I get a little bit of the base papers down, because I usually like to lay my base papers down first. So I did grab some scratch paper that I use for gluing on. It's an old work schedule from a couple years ago that I just use to keep my desk somewhat clean. And for this video, I will be using, for this part of the process, I'll be using a Yoo-Hoo glue stick. Normally I prefer using like tacky glue, but since this envelope is so thin, sometimes when you use the tacky glue, you can see little beads of it underneath the paper, and that bugs me. So I am going to use a glue stick, and this is the Yoo-Hoo brand. I also like the Scotch. There's a Scotch brand. I like that glue stick also if I have to use a glue stick. And the other next decision you guys need to make is to decide how you want to decorate it. If you want, again, I showed you a couple different examples. This one, I went ahead and I just cut out a window in a piece of scrapbooking paper. And since I have a ton of these envelopes, I did create different templates like this where I took the window, the acetate out, so then I could just lay it on a piece of scrapbooking paper and cut out the window and then lay it down on my envelope. That does take a little bit longer because you do need like an X-Acto knife or something to cut out the window part. Or like in the case of this one, if you look, I use washi tape and different pieces of paper to collage the background. And so we'll decorate the front and the back is all we need to decorate. And then also you'll need something behind your window. So if you have some sort of cool paper that you want showing, you can do that. And so I did grab some papers earlier from my stash. And I'm just today I think I'm decorating kind of in a vintage theme is kind of what I decided upon. And so the first thing I like to do is I like to put something behind my window element. So like, for instance, on this one, when you pull out the journal card, you can see that there's a piece of paper behind there, something pretty to look at in case you do take this out. And then it's also cool once you put your journal card in, and when you write on it, you'll be able to see your writing in the envelope. But for right now, all you see on this one is just the lines, papers. And when you look at this one, you see the little ticket piece. And then when you pull it out, again, I just did some collaging there on that one. And so for one of them, I have some book paper. This one's a French book. And then this other one, I have some really old paper that was from a long time ago. Someone gifted me this, and I don't even know if it's a journal or exactly what it is. It's written in a different language, and I don't recognize the language. I don't think it's French or German. That's about all I can say about it. I don't know what it's in. But it was from 1898, and the other person had used some of the papers in here, and I've just continued to use that on some of my collaging. So I pulled out a couple of those pieces of paper. And for this part of it too, I also like to use just thinner paper. And so I'm going to open up this envelope right here. And again, since I'm flipping this way, my writing on this one can go up and down. And then you can kind of check and see what it's going to look like. And that looks fine to me. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And you just want to make sure that you don't cover up your folds, because that's going to make it easier in the end. So you just need a piece of paper that's going to fit behind here. So it doesn't have to be this big, but since this one's close enough, I'm going to go ahead and use this one. So that's that first one. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down too at the same time. So instead of paper collaging, I did decide I just want one plain sheet of paper on the front. And so I'm going to do that and cut out a window. And I don't have a template that's exactly this size. This one's a little bit skinnier, but I'm going to make it work by tracing it and just leaving paper on both sides so that I can cut it to fit after I have it, the window cut out. And so I'm just going to put this behind, so I'll trace on the back side. Before I go any further, I'm just going to put some ink on the inside of this one. And I'm just using my Distress ink from Tim Holtz, the vintage photo from Tim Holtz. And even if you see a little bit of white there, you can always go back over it with the ink, or you can put it like another strip of paper down there or something. I'm not too worried about that. I just wanted the window part to look nice, so I think that'll be fine. And the rest of it I can get with the scissors. So I just didn't want to cut right here and accidentally cut off my flaps. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on this, and then we'll glue that sheet down. So there's the first one, and I'm going to ink the edges, and then like I said, I'm going to probably put like a, I think I'll probably just end up putting like a little piece of lace or something right down there just to cover that up. So that's, like I said, no big deal. And it doesn't look that bad once you put ink on the edges. So after you've inked the edges on that top one, if you want to go ahead and do any sewing, now would be the time to do it, especially if you wanted to sew around the window envelope. I did do that on this one, you guys can see. And because you can open it up and still easily sew around it. And then you could also, if you wanted to, go ahead and sew the side shut right there. But for this episode, I'm just going to end up using glue. I'm going to decorate the back, and then we'll glue the bottom piece on this one next. But we'll cut a piece for the back side. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to ink a little bit, just because a little bit of this is going to show, just so it's not so white. So I'm just going to ink that. And if you guys are wondering, all the paper that I'm using today, I think a lot of it came from different pads from Hobby Lobby. I've been a paper crafter for, you know, close to over 20 years. So some of my paper's been in my stash for a while. I go to a lot of craft rummage sale type situations too, where I get a lot of my paper in grab bags and stuff like that. So a lot of times I don't even know where the paper comes from, but I think this looks like it came from a pad from Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that one down. And for this one, I am just going to put, just because of the type of envelope it is here, and like you can see right here, there's this little notch here, so I don't want to put glue right next to this notch, because whatever I stick in there, I want it to have room to move a little bit. So I just want to hit the very edge of this. And so I will just use just a tiny bit of tacky glue just right down here, so I don't accidentally put glue where I don't want it to be. And then at this time, I think I'm also going to close this flap up too. So again, my pocket's going this way, so I'm just going to stick some glue across the bottom. So that'll close up that pocket. And I'm going to stick the glue stick on the rest of this. But again, I'm trying to be careful not to put any glue right there, because when I slide my tag in, I want it to have that little bit of room right there, a little bit extra room. So just be careful how you glue your paper down. If you do accidentally put glue there, it's no big deal. You'll just have a smaller space to put a tag in. And then just take a bone folder and smooth it down, or like I have an old gift card that I use to smooth down my glue if I need to. So now the back side of that one has some decorative paper. And so again, these are going to get hooked to each other. This one's going to have the pocket at the top. This one has a pocket here. If you guys want, you can go ahead and cut out a notch. But since I didn't cover this the whole way, I'm not going to, because I don't want it to be book paper on part of it and then not. So I'm not going to notch it, but you can if you want. And so I need to pick paper for this one. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing for this one. I think I want this green one, because I think that would look nice if there's a little bit of that showing behind here. So I'm going to do this one the same way I did with that little window template thing. So again, this one is a top opening, and so I'm going to glue it shut, and then I'm going to glue this piece of paper on the back side. So again, I want to leave the top open. And again, when putting glue, before I glue this down right here, I'm just going to put a little bit here, and I'm going to skip putting any glue right here, just to give me more room when I slide the tag in up at the top. And I'll use the glue stick for the rest of it. So the next step is also we're going to put some paper on the cardstock that's going to go behind these two flips. But before I do that, I think I want to round the corners, and I may or may not need to add some more glue after I do that. But I am going to round the corners first. I do like the look of the rounded corners. And then I'm going to go ahead and just glue these two together for right now. And so you can glue them together so that they're flush, or you can stagger them out a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and stagger them out a little bit, and I'll show you guys how to glue them together. So as you can see, I moved this one away from it just a little bit. And I'm just going to line it up where I want. And then if you look at the back side, that's kind of how it looks. So I'm going to very carefully set it down. And I'm going to open up this one, and I'm going to take my little pencil, and I'm just going to draw on this piece right here. So then I know to go ahead and put glue right there. Then I line them back up again. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm either going to add like another paper strip, probably some writing paper down here in between these two. So I'll do that. Or you can also add washi tape to cover that up right there. So I'm not too concerned about that. And then this part right here too, I'll also cut that down. So, but I'm going to go ahead and attach these to the next piece. And then right here, you need to decide again what size you want your back piece. So like these two pieces right here, the back piece is pretty much the same size as this one right here. And this one, it's a little bit longer. So there's no right or wrong. You can do whatever you want. And so I think I'm going to leave it a little bit longer, but not too much longer. I'm going to cut it at 4 inches, I think. So it'll be slightly bigger. And again, at this point, you can either, I think I'm just going to leave it the same size as the bottom one. So I'm going to cut it at 6.5 so it works with the bottom one. Then I'm going to corner around the edges on this one also. And again, you can decide if you just want to leave this just blank so that you have a journaling spot, or if you want to cover it with some paper, which I think I'm going to cover it with paper. And I think this is light enough right here, this part, that you could actually journal on it if you wanted to. So, and I think it would look okay next to that. I'm going to go ahead and just cut that little strip off right here. So here's what I have right now, and I really don't like the way this, where these two are even and this one isn't. This one, all three were even, and this one, the top two were staggered, and then the bottom was the same size. And so, for whatever reason, that's bugging me. So I'm just going to trim around that. It's not the end of the world there. So I'm just going to trim that part off. So that works better for me, I guess. My cutting wasn't very straight, so I'm going to just take my paper cutter and straighten that. And I'll just re-edge the corners. Yeah, that'll work. So here's what we have then. And here we'll need something to put down there, so let's find something. Okay, so the next step is to cut some sort of journal card or tag that you want to put inside your pockets. And so I cut some paper out, and this was from an old paper pad. It's a 7 Gypsies paper pad that came from Hobby Lobby. They don't carry it anymore, but I still have some of the sheets left. And so I did cut it up. I like it just because it has lined paper, but use whatever you have and make sure it fits in your pocket. And you'll want to add some sort of tab to it. And so I did have some tabs already pre-punched. I punched a lot of tabs like this whenever I have scrap paper. And it does come from this paper punch. It's from McGill. It's an older paper punch. And I think I've had it for like 20 years and it's still working. So that's what I'm using for this. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach the tab. So I'm going to put this in. And if you want, you can do some like collaging. If you look at this tab right here, along with the little pieces, I did do some collaging that you'd see behind the window. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to attach the tab and put it in. And that looks like that fits pretty good. And then, of course, this pocket here will be up on the top. It's a little snug, but that one fits. And so it's just to decide where you want the tab. So I'll probably do some decorating right here. So I'll probably put the tab more in the middle, and then this one too up in the middle up there. So I'm just going to pull it out a little ways since it's in. I'm just going to switch back to the tacky glue, but again, just use whatever glue you guys prefer. I think I'm just going to put a little more ink on that, just so it stands out a little bit more. There. Then later on I might go in and add a little flower or something just to make it stand out a little bit more. So there's the first tag or tab done. And then this one. So at this point, if you guys do want, you can take a circle punch and you can punch out notches at the top if you want. And on the side. And I think I'm going to do that actually. So I know I had talked about it earlier down there, but I think I can do it right here then. So now to decorate the front, I did already pull out a few things from my stash just to talk about some different ideas. And so I did have this piece right here and this piece, and they're both from a Tim Holtz package. And so I was thinking I might layer them like that and add the little lady on there. And I think she came from Artie Mays, and it looks like I need to ink her edges a little bit, so I'm going to do that first. She was a digital, and I'm pretty sure it came from Artie Mays. And then I'm thinking I still want something here, whether it's a flower, which is probably what I'll go with because I really liked flowers. But you could also go with some sort of digital image like that with some birds or a flower or a butterfly or something. And then I would lay some cheesecloth behind it or some eyelash trim. And that would look nice too. Would just give it a little pop of color. I think I'm going to go with the birds. And then the only other thing also is if you wanted to, depending upon how you glued this down, you could also make it into a tuck spot for a tag. And then when you took the tag out, then you'd see the little window, and then it would be kind of like a hidden window. And so I think I am going to glue this down just so there's that possibility of being able to put a tag behind it if you wanted to. And I'm going to also ink the edges on this. This was a bigger piece and I just cut it in half. And again, this piece came from a Tim Holtz set that I had in my stash. And so if you are wanting to make it a tuck spot, I need to make sure I don't put glue right on this sector right here. So I'm just going to put glue on the bottom and then the outside edge. And so then for this piece again, since I'm making this into a tuck spot behind there, I don't want to put any glue right here. So it'll just be across the bottom and the outside edge. So I should still be able to tuck that behind there. Then I'm just going to trim a little bit of the cheesecloth off. So that's our finished piece on the front. And again, you should be able to put something behind there if you wanted to. And then as I was going through my stash, I did find this craft cardstock pocket that someone had gifted me a while ago. And so I decided I liked that the best. And then I went ahead and I cut some of this paper that I had left over just to kind of carry out that color over here. And so I think I'm going to do that. And I'm going to corner around the edges and also ink the edges. And then this is the tag that came with it. And so I'll just put that one in there for now. And then when I glue it down, I think I'm going to only glue it down on this side and the bottom side. So then I could use it still as a tuck spot for something. You know, I might angle it a little bit, I think, is what I'm going to do. So then you can still have a spot to tuck a journaling card or something down there. And then to decorate it, I'm going to add this little scrap piece of lace. I'm going to put some eyelash trim behind it. And then I also think I'm just going to put this little bit of trim at the very bottom. So that's how I'm going to decorate that part. Now I'm going to decorate this little sector right here. And my plan is I have this snippet from some lace from a past project. And I was thinking I was going to glue that up there just because when this is closed, you can see just that little bit up there. And so I was going to add that up there. And then down here, I was going to add, I had this little piece that I've already inked the edges to. It was from a store-bought kit. It was either from a Seven Gypsies kind of ephemera kit, or else I think it was K and Company. I used to buy some of these kind of kits at Tuesday Morning, and it came from one of those. And so I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put this image of this lady, and I think this was a digital from Artie Mays, I think. And going to layer this little piece, and again, I think this was Artie Mays too, but I'm not 100% sure. Otherwise, it could be Tracy Fox too, would be the other option on that one. So I'm going to layer those two there, and I do have this another little snippet that I'm going to somehow add to it, and then I'm going to glue it down so that I can stick this tag and be able to pull it out. So that's my plan for this little sector. So now we're on to the last section to decorate. And of course, when you add your papers, if I would have done like a light colored paper, I could have just left it so I could journal on. But again, I have a couple ideas to share with you guys. Of course, you could still always add pockets or decorate the offcuts of the envelopes. And a couple different ideas that I had is I already had this pre-made, just left over from some tea-dyed paper, and I made it into a little booklet. And you could, if you wanted to, you could add like a belly band and then put one page behind it, and then you have another little notebook you could take out. You could do that on either side, or you could also do a belly band the long way and stick it in this way. This piece of paper isn't quite big enough for that, but I just wanted to show you guys that idea. And then usually what I do with these is I like to cover up my staples, and so I would just put a little piece of trim over that, and that would hide it. So that was one idea of something you can do on the inside. Another idea is when I was going through my stash, I had this tag, and it matches this same paper collection. You can see this lady right here. And so I think I'm going to use this. Like I said, I already had this pre-made from something else that I ended up not using it for. And so I think I'm just going to make some sort of belly band and stick her in there. So I'll cut this piece of paper off, and since this was lighter scrapbooking paper, I did layer it onto another piece of like cardstock paper or heavier paper so that it can handle a lot of in and outs with the tags. So that's one thing I want to do in this sector. And I do still have some more of this vintage trim, or this trim that I could add onto that belly band just to decorate it up a little bit. And my other idea is when you have backgrounds that have a lot going on them, like these two sides, is you add some other type of journal space, whether you put something like this that has actual journaling lines on it that you could use. You could make it into a flip by adding a piece of strip of paper, or you could just layer it down and do some decorating underneath it and in the bottom of it. And so I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to layer it. I have some other little bits and pieces. Again, I think this one right here was a Tracy Fox digital. And this one I think was from Artie Mays. And then I just cut it down, and then I used a hole punch to make it actually look like an actual ticket. And I think this one was part of that same kit from Artie Mays, was this little postage stamp, but you could use a regular postage stamp also. And this came from one of a store-bought ephemera kit, like from Seven Gypsies. And so I just was thinking I would just kind of go layer that underneath, then this, and then I was going to do something down here with these labels right here, just like that. So, and then maybe add, I don't know if I'm going to add anything more to that one or not. So we'll see as I'm decorating if I add something else to that. But so that's my plan for this little sector to finish it up. And then we'll kind of do another once through of everything. And then I'll take out a little journal page and we can look and see how I would actually use it in a journal. So that's the finished 2-page spread of this envelope. When I glued down this back piece right here, I did leave it open in case I do want to stick some sort of smaller tag back here, just to have another little spot that I do have a little opening there for that. I don't have anything on my desk right now that'll fit in there, but I did decide at the last minute as I was gluing this piece down to add that. So it's just kind of another little hidden tuck there. And then on the back side, I'm just going to leave it like this. If you were to make it more into a floating pocket in your journal, you definitely would want to put another piece of paper back here, maybe some sort of lined piece of paper or coffee dyed paper that you could journal on. But this is pretty bulky as it is, so I'm just going to leave it. So again, taking a peek at this double envelope window flip with pockets. Again, you can see the window here and the window there. On this one, I do have that little tuck spot if I choose to use it to add another little tag. This one's slightly a little too big for it, but you guys get the picture. And again, that's how I decorated it. And then also we have the pocket right here on the side that opens up, and I can journal on this side and also the back side of that. And then this little sector again flips open to the next layout, and we have a pocket here with a tag that can be journaled on the back side, and I'll probably go back in and put some ink on it so that's not so white. And then also again we have the little tuck spot behind there to add a tag. And again, the little layout here, and this tiny little tag pulls out for another little spot. You can journal on the back and also on these little lines right here. And on this one, the top tag pulls out. And again, you can journal on both sides of that. And then when you flip it over to the last sector, I have this little tag that pulls out, and you can journal on the back side of that. And then also journal on the lines right here. And again, we have that little hidden tuck up here that we could add another tag to if we wanted to up in the corner. And again, you can add, if you're going to use it as a floating pocket or use it hooked in with a paper clip, you can put another piece of paper back there. So I did pull out one of my journals so I could show you guys some ideas on how you could possibly use this ephemera piece in your journal. And this one is just a blank journal that kind of put together the same way as many traveler's notebooks with the elastic in the middle of it. But how I most likely would use this is, again, I would glue this bottom piece down. And I most likely would glue it on the 3 sides and then make the top part another tag, spot to put a tag. But you could also glue it down on a couple different sides and use it also as a tuck spot. If you were to glue it in maybe at an angle like this, you could tuck something in there and it would still flip open. And of course, if you do put decorative paper on the back and you had a paper clip, you could paper clip it in and use it that way also. So those are a couple ideas on how to use this in an actual journal. I also think it would look really cute if you were to use it just on like the back of a cover, or even here if I were to cover the back paper again too, I could stick it in this little pocket too. So that would be a fun way to use it too. So again, I just want to thank everybody so much for watching today. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the beginning of this series. Again, this was the second video of this series. I do have quite a few more planned, and I will be posting a video each week until I run out of ideas or I need a break, whichever comes first. And if you guys want to leave any comments below, I certainly love to read them and respond back. So until next time, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and happy crafting.